Hey, I'm Adam Jusko from Adam Answers, where we answer the burning and not so burning questions of the day. In this video, do you have to pay unemployment compensation back? That's what we're going to talk about. But before we do, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not already. And if you have already, I thank you for doing so. So if you are going through unemployment for the first time, you might have only a vague idea of how it actually works. So when you get unemployment compensation, is that like a loan that you have to pay back, or is that money that is just given to you? And the answer in almost all cases is no. You don't have to pay back the money that you get on unemployment. Unemployment is a social safety net program. So when you lose your job, if it's no fault of your own, that is a way to basically keep you on your feet during the period that you are looking for a new job. So you do not have to pay it back. However, there's more to the story, so don't go quite yet. There are a couple of instances where you could have to pay back the unemployment compensation that you received, and perhaps more important for most viewers of this video is the idea of taxes. Is that money taxable? And the answer to that is yes. So the unemployment money that you received, you're not going to have to pay it back, but you are still going to have to pay taxes on it, just like it was any other income that you might have received from a job. And so what you are going to want to do is think about the fact that those taxes are coming down the road, and so you have the whole situation of withholding just like you would for a job. If you don't have anything withheld, well then you're going to have a bigger tax bill and you're going to have to pay later on, or you could have money withheld from those checks now so that you don't have as much of a tax bill later on. However, because unemployment oftentimes does not cover, everything you may have been making from a previous job, you may feel like you want all that money now, and if you do, you still should be aware that you may have to pay taxes down the road, assuming that your overall income for the year would be high enough for you to have to pay taxes. By the way, every state is a little bit different in terms of how this works. You will get taxed at the federal level. Not all states tax you at the state level, but many of them do. Now, what are some of those instances where you might have to pay back money that you received for unemployment? Well, number one is if by some mistake you got overpaid. So you were supposed to get a certain amount, and for whatever reason you got more than you should have. Now, most people on unemployment, are a little vague, like I said at the top of the video, in terms of how it all works. So you may not even realize that you got overpaid, and then you might get a letter later down the line that says, hey, we overpaid you. We want that extra money back, and you may not be in a position where you can pay that money back. So they may ask for that money back if there is a mistaken overpayment, and if you think there's an overpayment, you want to contact the state unemployment office as soon as possible to try and get that worked out. But if they come back to you down the line looking for money, in most states you're going to have the possibility to basically dispute that and say, yes, you may have overpaid me, but I didn't realize it, and I essentially use that money and don't have a way to pay you back, and I have an economic hardship here. I can't come up with X number of dollars to pay you. And if you do that, you may have the outcome where you're not going to have to pay back that extra money. But you should know that if you get an overpayment, they could come looking for that money, even though the error is not on your part. Now, the second way you might have to pay back unemployment money is if your former employer disputes the fact that you should have gotten that unemployment in the first place. So let's say you quit, or you were fired for cause, you were stealing, or some other egregious thing happened. Your former employer could dispute the fact that you should be getting unemployment, and if you've already, if it was already okayed and you've already gotten paid, they still could come back to you and try to claw that money back. A lot of people don't realize how the unemployment money works in terms of where it comes from, and it comes from the employers. So your employer or your former employer has been paying into the unemployment system, and it is a form of insurance. So they pay into the system, but every time someone files for unemployment, it's sort of like you making a claim against your auto insurance. So there's the possibility that the money you have to pay would go up later on, right? If you have claims against your auto insurance, your premiums might go up. Same thing for your employer. Every time someone gets laid off and then makes a claim against that unemployment insurance, it's going to cost the employer a little bit more money. So the employer doesn't want to have former employees that quit or, got fired for doing something terrible to get money that's going to cost them more money down the line. So that is when they might actually dispute the fact that you should have received that money, and it's possible that things could get reversed and you no longer would be eligible for the unemployment, and they would even want to get that money back from you. And then number 3 is probably kind of obvious, but that would be if there was some sort of fraud on your part. If you tried to collect money and you already had a new job, or whatever the case might be, if you filed for unemployment and you should not have, and you've been taking money, then obviously they would claw that money back from you and, potentially would fine you even further beyond what they had paid you. So for most people, that's not going to come into play, but obviously that is a time when you might have to give money back. So really, overall, the short answer to all of this is, if you are collecting unemployment, and you should be, you were laid off and you lost your job through no fault of your own, you're not going to have to pay that back, but it is going to be taxable. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, put them in the comments section below. Just to remind you, I am not a lawyer, and the laws are different in every single state. So this is not legal advice. It is just telling you how things generally work with unemployment. Again, if you have any questions, put them in the comments section below, and I thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.